Why have tens of millions of Gen Zs and millennials in China made the same choice of joining the Communist Party of China, and many more are queuing up? On Wednesday, July the 1st, China is celebrating the 105th anniversary of the founding of its ruling party, the CPC. On this date in 1921, 50 people got together and founded what has become the world's largest political party with over 101 million members today. A grand ceremony was held on Wednesday in Beijing to mark the occasion, during which Chinese President Xi Jinping, who is also General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, gave a speech reflecting on the party's journey, its evolution, and the road ahead. Now, this is interesting. According to the latest data, over 40% of the 101 million party members are under 45. In other words, Gen Zs and millennials. And some 30 million more, mostly young people, are on the waiting list. Why is the CPC attractive to them? Why are they applying to join the party? What keeps the party young? And what's the takeaway for those beyond China? Welcome to this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, an opinion show coming to you live from Beijing. I'm pleased to be joined here in the studio by Professor Liu Baocheng, Dean of the Center for International Business Ethics at the University of International Business and Economics, and Han Hua, co-founder and Secretary General of the Beijing Club for International Dialogue. The warmest welcome to all of you. So this morning, it was a very special moment. We were all watching this. It was carried all over China. What do you make of the importance of that moment when 1.4 billion people watching in the heart of Beijing, outstanding 8 people were being honored with the highest honor possible in China? Han.
This is both ceremonial and also bringing significance to this celebration. I definitely watched the live broadcast from the very beginning when the motorcade escorting the 7 or 8 or their group of the
altogether
July.
It's 8 people, but one already passed away, so there's a representative.
Seven medalists of the July 1st medal. And July 1st medal is definitely regarded as the highest level of the medal from the CPC. So, and it was awarded every 5 years. So this year is the awarding ceremony. And the protocol, I would say, it is definitely the higher and more significant, with the youth and the students welcoming them from the Great Hall of People, with the motorcade passing along the Eternal Peace Avenue, the #1 avenue in China. So these protocols give people this, feeling, and even the feeling that they are from the grassroots and they have been in the public service, be it in the healthcare, in the scientific research, or in community service, this 7 medal awarder, and that they are having been put together their efforts in the past 5 decades or even longer to serve the people, serve the grassroots of people.
Absolutely.
So this is very significant.
Well, we'll come to them in particular, but for the people out there watching this, Professor Liu, I want to turn. Why does it matter to them that China is honoring these model workers? For the people outside of China, does it matter?
Well, I think the world is
especially
now,
the young people who are watching.
The world is in a rapid transformation, but also getting more and more confused as where the humanity should really go. And now China's action is there to provide a certain orientation to where value can be really attached. It's the ordinary people doing quote unquote extraordinary work that is being recognized and also being rewarded in that. They are delivering essential work to the community, to technological advancement, to the education, to building a harmonious society. So all of which are there to lead, where China is there going for its own way of modernization, and where China's civilization can be better fitted or even can really better inspire the world that where to be. You mentioned about the younger generation. I think now the younger generation are facing a very complex world, many of which are really fantasy. So, where the younger generation are going in that direction. So now with the equipment of digitization, of modernization, it seems that
of AI.
all the AI, it seems that all the effort, all the comfort and all the facilities are there, but humans is unique is that they are in search of meaning. So where meaning can be delivered, now these people are really the exemplaries that for ordinary people to follow. It's not only there for Chinese people, but also I think it's an indication of human value.
That's why it's fascinating when I see the numbers, which came out yesterday of the latest scale of the CPC and the composition, the age, the education level, so on and so forth. And I took out the percentage of people of CPC member under the age 45. That overall percentage is 43%, which is very high. And then if you look at Gen Z, which are people under age 30, there are 12 million of them. And people who are millennials, meaning age between 30 and 45, there are 32 million. And then, as I said, there are some 20 million more, and mostly young people, of course, who are on the waiting list. Why so many young people find it attractive, find it aspirational to join the party, Hanhua?
So from this number, you just added them up, it were composed of like over half of the majority. And it's
40%
about,
of 100 million.
45%, and it's over 50 million. From the outside society, I mean, from the other side of the perspective, this is the largest community, and this is the largest market, this is the largest business community, and this is also the largest potential public service community that China has to be presented to the world, and this is significant first from this side. So this is a demographic community that every country would love to have as the backbone or the foundation of the country's future development. And from the young people's perspective, I think young people, be it a Chinese young or a young people in the United States or in Europe, I think that they want to combine at the bottom of their hearts. They always want to combine their personal career development, personal fulfillment with the fulfillment or the advancement of their country, of the identity, where their identity come from. So the CPC actually provides a chance for them to combine this personal interests,
to go beyond oneself.
Personal aspirations with the aspiration of the country's development, with the aspirations of how this party, this organization, this biggest organization structure, how it evolved from the very beginning, from 1921,
Let's not go into details there. Let's focus on the young people. And Professor Liu, let me turn to you because there is a very big misunderstanding or lack of understanding of China's political system and of the CPC. A lot of people would not imagine the numbers that I just mentioned. Why are so many Chinese young people aspiring to join the party or have already joined the party?
I think one thing that is highly noticeable is that no one is forcing them. So they voluntarily joined the Communist Party based on their, first of all, their belief and in search of meaning, in search of public service, and also to build themselves with higher capacity of community cohesion. And in this way, they are also there to exercise their professional capacity to deliver. So I think what is more important is that what is their perception of the Communist Party. It's not really ideological utopia, and it is not there to brainwash these people. But the Communist Party are making the right plan and leading this whole nation, from standing up in the world and now to its modernization, and also that also drawing strength on our historical traditional value in contributing to the community and contributing to the society, and also to contribute to the world peace. So this is really the mission that inspire these people. And of course, the practical consideration for career advancement, for mutual learning, and also for self-organization to study. What is really the success magic of the Communist Party is something that's also very important. And one thing I need also to share with you that as many of our foreign students on our campus, they are also very highly interested to ask about me, to invite me to deliver, what really the unique part of the Chinese Communist Party that make China as one only ruling party to progress until today for modernization and for the urbanization and also for contributing to the world, particularly the global south.
Yeah, one very practical term, to join the Communist Party is actually very difficult, right? It's not like you fill out a form and you can become the CPC. How long does it take? How difficult is it for young people to apply, for anybody to apply and to be accepted as a party member?
I think it depends, but according to the rules and the regulations of the CPC, at least it needs to take 1 year to go through all the formality.
At least.
At least, because you need to be in queue, like you just mentioned. There are about 30 million people are in queue. So this in queue process, meaning that you need to pass through the examination, the self-reflection, and also you need to not only fill out a form, but you need to write your essays, to report to the organization what you're thinking of your aspirations.
Basically, you need to prove that you qualify.
Yes.
And that is, Professor Liu, what is your take on?
I think the criteria,
despite the difficulty, the criteria.
For qualification is also a combination of the modern development versus the Chinese traditional value. For young boys, if you have too many girlfriends, it's very difficult for you to really even
But is
apply.
Is it against human nature?
Because traditional Chinese value also that's
integrity.
That's
You're
also
talking about
the integrity.
Yeah.
And do you really deliver your promise? So.
But sorry for interrupting, but we really have very little time. That's why I want to kind of cover as much ground as possible. But if someone wants to be a business person, if someone wants to be an artist, wants to be a freelancer, or wants to even, move somewhere else, or I don't know, have their own choice of their career, would they be automatically disqualified by the party?
So I think one is that you got to have higher level of self-discipline. And where you are really studying for and also working for, and also how you really coexist and also contribute to the community development, either on the school campus or in the residential area. And then what are the specific capacity can you really have instead of empty talks, but what are those practical deliveries that you can give to people and give to society, and along which it's not really the procedural issue, but it's more of the substantial criteria to make you yourself as an integral perseverance and also dedication and of course loyalty.
Of course, and you mentioned several of these keywords which are very important, which actually also what President Xi mentioned when he gave this very important speech during the ceremony today: conviction, loyalty, dedication, working hard, deliver results instead of empty talk, or optics and integrity. Basically, they are considered role models. They should be considered role models of the society. Hence, we have 8 people, as I said, 8 people who received this kind of medal. How would you say the message behind awarding them? Because they're no billionaires. There are no, Elon Musks, let's say, of China, but they're one of them was a doctor who worked in Xinjiang, who spent years going to homes of herdsmen and delivering baby, checking out whether they have high blood pressure. Why were these people highlighted or recognized? What's the message to those who are watching, many of them young people in China?
Even though the CPC does have this grand representation from all walks of life, including the business community people, even the private sectors, also businessmen, entrepreneurs, and academia, but I think most of them, especially the the medal award going to the people who can deliver the most significant public service to the grassroots and to the people. This is people-centered. I regard it as the core value or the backbone of the CPC value. So people who can deliver for so many hours, for such a long time, decades after decades, I think they are the most representatives of the CPC, and they are the people who deserve this gold medal. Of course, we also see people from the all walks life. They also got some lower level medals. That's another recognition of them. But we want to uphold this value. The ultimate value is that you can serve the people, and you are from the grassroots.
Professor Liu, these people were actually called everyday heroes.
Yes.
And they were given the highest honor. Two of them were in wheelchair in their 80s. Some of them one of them actually already passed away because of years of dedication and devotion. There were women as well. There was one from an ethnic minority. What is the message really? What kind of party does China want to build for its people and for the world as well by highlighting these examples?
The world has been talking very loud about Mother Teresa. Actually, there are a lot of Mother Teresa within China, and they are the saints. They are not really the Santa Claus who can only deliver the gift, once a year, but they are engaged in daily operation and effectively engaged with people. And plus, these people who are shown on the ceremony, they are elected by the ordinary people. They are not really handpicked by the higher authority, and although they are really approved by the higher authority. So the other is that these people, they learn very practical skills.
Sorry, before we go into the skills, it was really touching because you were talking about Mother Teresa, Santa Claus. It was touching because during the ceremony, I noticed some people watching there, they were actually crying when they saw these people being recognized, being honored. Why the strong emotion that goes in there?
Yeah, because as you mentioned, that they are ordinary people. It seems that they are just all neighbors. They are just all colleagues. So they are easy to be learned from. So they are not really there to enjoy higher social status. They are not really glamorous celebrities, etc. So which means that I can do better with the example over there. And so the fact that these people are really there to demonstrate the meaning of life, and because the value of individual is only reflected in the mirror of other people's eyes. What impact do you really create through your living and through your work? So that's something very important. I think also I also mentioned about professional dedication. Being professional, you got to really have the capability to be able to see the situation and deliver the right type of result that is really welcome.
Competence.
That's right.
Yes.
That's the level of competence, and also the level of communication is also important. How do you really talk with those people with different ideas, with different needs? So these are really the type of qualities that is they're required. So in a way, I should say, it's the value they demonstrate. It's the vision that they are there to help open the community to see a further picture, and also it's really the competence that is there to deliver the final result, which is testified and felt by people.
Han Hua, let me ask you this question. When you watch these people, of course they have been working all their lives and they have definitely paid a price in terms of, for instance, their health. Some of them have really worked so much. Probably, they are suffering to a certain degree, the negative consequences. But do you think they are happy?
I believe so. I believe this, they are having greater happiness, not only from their own fulfillment of like one job, one opportunity, but their happiness is from, you know, how many people they serve. Just as Professor Liu said, the ability to adapt to their own environment, and also the ability and the competence they are growing on daily basis to serve these people, to tackle the problems these people are having, we're having. And so they are, I think, this sense of fulfillment and the sense of achievement will deliver the utmost happiness to them. And they are from their ordinary lives, just as Professor Liu said, they could be our neighbors, they could be our colleagues.
Or our children.
But, yes,
I mean,
young people, the younger ones. But at the same time, they're delivering. The key word is delivery. And their delivery, not only on daily basis, but the delivery, and it is accumulated to a greater success and achievement. And this is the reflection of how the society is evolving and how the society is evolving under the leadership of the CPC.
So interesting, because sometimes when we talk about being a member of a political party, you believe in certain things. You have certain political views that align with that party. But is it also exactly the same thing here in China if you're a member of the Communist Party of China, especially if you have any official responsibility? What is the extra expectation and burden, let's say, there?
Well, I think what identifies a person is its identity and who really and what circle they identify with. The fact they identify with the Communist Party is that they know the Communist Party can really lead them to the right direction, and also can give them more opportunities and also more responsibilities to be able to exercise their professional capacity to deliver to the society. And also that being a parent, your value is that to see your children are growing, they are having sunshine on their face on every day, and also being a citizen, to see your neighborhood and to see the country is really prospering through your, however tiny it might be, your contribution. It gave you the self-dignity and gave you the right honor that you can really medal yourself with that. So, and of course, the people are there to set up and also reinforce their value through the social recognition. And the fact that the Chinese Communist Party leadership are giving them such award is there to inspire them, but also more important to tell the whole nation is that these are the people that we value for the socialist modernization, and these are really the value for the Chinese nation that is there to enjoy more than 5,000 years history.
What is the relevance for the world then when China is doing that?
Well, human beings are human beings. So therefore, we have a shared community on this tiny planet.
That's very big, that's very big. But on the more
on a more practical level, is that wherever you are, however difficult might be your task, is that there is a value that is there to be testified by the impact that you create on your community and on your nation. And the other is that you got to really have a strong belief in something that might take years for you to be able to achieve.
And what's the impact on the world when China is doing that? Because President Xi did mention that this meeting, the China celebrating 155th anniversary of the CP has major significance for world peace and development. How do you explain that?
China is the second largest economy in the world already. So every day, on daily basis, China's movement, China's action, China's steps towards the world, China's four global initiatives, and the China's Belt and Road Initiative as well, is having reflection from the world audience and from the world practitioners. For example, the AI development. The world recognizes that the competition is between China and the US. When US is joked as all in AI, and China is already upholding the theory and also the practices, the applications of AI for all. So this is definitely making a huge difference in this competition. So when, for example, a young, fresh graduate from US universities, when they are facing the AI's challenges and difficulties, which directly impacting on their job opportunities, they don't know where to go. But when China has already upholding this flag of regulations and the AI for all execution policies, so people realize that even we are facing the challenges, but we are also having the potentials of assuming personal goals and the roles and the responsibilities in this AI-driven environment. So this is a very practical example for China and the US to go different paths. But this is also
talking about different
CPC.
paths, and I have to wrap it there. Professor Liu, you know, there was talk about a new form of human advancement or expanding the pathway for modernity for developing countries. But specifically, how do you understand the impact of China, you know, consolidating its party and its leadership, attracting more people? What's in for the world for us?
Yeah, I think one is the governance, both by the rationality and also by virtue. And so these people who are given this award is there to support their achievement in the virtue of delivery. And second is that Chinese Communist Party may be different to many other parties or to many other, you know, so-called the communist parties, because they are there to make the right type of planning. They focus on the people's livelihood and work opportunities, and they are also future-looking. And more importantly to the world, Chinese Communist Party is highly inclusive, not only, you know, to work with the rest of the world, but also we are ready to learn.
President, she did talk about enemies. He said we must be ready to fight. We must, you know, confront our enemies. What did he mean?
Yeah, that means that the inclusive and sustainable development is really the goal for China to engage with this with the rest of the world, and particularly now China is led by the Communist Party to exercise its own value of harmony, of integrity, and work with the rest of the world for common development, and also to shape a common value, which is highly and crucially needed in today's environment.
Han Hua, I'm going to give you 20 seconds to answer that question.
Sure.
Why, if China is open to the world, what are we talking about when we are saying enemies, confronting the enemies, work against them?
Yeah, this is
20
purely
seconds,
from,
please.
I think this is from the Chinese philosophy and the culture from the last 5,000 years. When you are about to tackle something, when you're about to face the, you know, the next stage of development, you have to have a bigger goal. You have to have, you know, realize that what are the biggest difficulties and challenges.
So he meant by enemies actually means difficulties,
and challenges down the road.
Okay,
yeah, you need to realize that,
All
and you need to realize that deeply.
Before you can tackle them, before you can solve the problem. We have to leave it there. Unfortunately, time has been really limited. But many thanks to Professor Liu Baocheng from University of International Business and Economics, and Han Hua, co-founder and Secretary General of Beijing Club for International Dialogue. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, coming to you from Beijing. As usual, you can follow me on Facebook, X, and YouTube using the handle Liu Xin in Beijing. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. You've got The Point.